Emma's fingers trembled as she stared at the message on her phone screen. 3 words that made her blood run cold. Wrong number, sweetheart. But it wasn't just any wrong number. The name at the top of the chat made her stomach drop. Marco Valentini. Not Marco from Bumble.
Marco Valentini.
The Marco Valentini. 5 minutes earlier, she'd been lying in bed with a glass of wine, feeling bold and flirty. She'd been texting back and forth with a guy from her dating app, some charming marketing consultant named Marco. The conversation had taken a playful turn, and in a moment of liquid courage, she typed out something she'd never normally send. Something suggestive. Something that made her cheeks flush even thinking about it now. She'd hit send without double-checking the contact name. Her phone buzzed again. You have some explaining to do, Miss Hayes. My office. Tomorrow.
Noon. Come alone.
Don't even think about ignoring this. I know where you work.
Marco Valentini.
Emma's wine glass slipped from her hand, red liquid spreading across her white sheets like blood. He knew her last name. He knew where she worked. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. 6 months ago, her company had organized a corporate event at one of Valentini's restaurants. He owned half the upscale dining establishments in the city, along with several luxury hotels and nightclubs. On paper, he was a successful entrepreneur. But everyone knew the rumors. The whispers about his real business. The way people's voices dropped when his name came up. The stories that made their way through the city, like urban legends. She'd been introduced to him briefly that night. He'd been impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, dark hair styled perfectly, cold blue eyes that seemed to see right through her. The handshake had lasted exactly 3 seconds. He'd given her his card for future business inquiries. She'd saved the number and never thought about it again. Until tonight. Until she'd sent him a text that started with, "Hey handsome," and ended with an emoji she couldn't even think about without wanting to die. Before we continue with Emma's nightmare, if you're enjoying the story, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our dramatic storytelling. Trust me, you'll want to see how this plays out. Now, back to Emma's disaster. Emma spent the entire night pacing her apartment. She called her best friend Jessica at 2 a.m. You did what? Jessica's voice came through the phone at a pitch only dogs should hear. I know. What do I do? Should I run? Should I change my identity? Should I move to Canada? Emma, calm down. Maybe he just wants an apology. Maybe he'll laugh it off. Jessica, this is Marco Valentini. He doesn't laugh things off. People who cross him end up. Emma couldn't even finish the sentence. End up what? This is real life, not a movie. He's a businessman. A scary businessman, but still. Just go, apologize, and this will all blow over. But Emma had spent the last 3 hours Googling Marco Valentini, and nothing about what she found suggested things would just blow over. Articles about his business empire. Photos of him at charity galas with politicians and celebrities. And then the darker stuff, buried deeper in search results. Federal investigations that went nowhere. Associates who disappeared. A reputation that made grown men nervous. She didn't sleep at all. The next morning, Emma changed outfits 7 times. What did you wear to apologize to a mafia boss for accidentally sexting him? She settled on a conservative black dress, tied her dark hair back, and practiced her apology in the mirror. Mr. Valentini, I'm so terribly sorry. It was a complete accident. I would never. Her voice cracked. She tried again. I apologize for the inappropriate message. I meant to send it to someone else. I understand if you're angry, but please know it was an honest mistake. Her phone buzzed. A car would pick her up at 11:30. The black sedan that arrived was exactly what she expected. Tinted windows. A driver who didn't speak. Leather seats that probably cost more than her monthly rent. They drove through downtown, past the business district, into an area where the restaurants had valet parking and the buildings had doormen. They pulled up to Valentini's flagship restaurant, Rosso. Even closed during lunch prep, it radiated elegance. The driver opened her door, gestured toward the entrance. A man in a dark suit was waiting, earpiece visible, expression unreadable. Miss Hayes. This way. Emma's heels clicked on marble floors as she followed him through the empty restaurant. Past tables set with crystal and white linens. Past a bar that gleamed with top-shelf bottles. Through a hallway lined with photos of Marco, with various celebrities and politicians, all of them smiling like they were his best friends. They stopped at a heavy wooden door. The man knocked twice, then opened it. Miss Hayes, sir. Emma stepped inside, and the door closed behind her with a final sounding click. The office was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, dark wood furniture, a massive desk, and behind it, Marco Valentini, even more imposing than she remembered.
He didn't stand.
Didn't smile. Just looked at her with those ice-blue eyes, his fingers steepled under his chin.
Seat.
Emma sat, her hands clutching her purse like a lifeline. The silence stretched for what felt like an hour, but was probably 30 seconds. Marco leaned back in his chair, still watching her. "So," he said finally, his voice smooth and dangerous. "Tell me, Miss Hayes, do you make it a habit of sending explicit messages to men you barely know?" Emma's face burned. "Mr. Valentini, I'm so sorry. It was a complete accident. I was texting someone else, someone with the same first name, and I didn't check." "You didn't check," he repeated, leaning forward. "You sent me a message that would make a prostitute blush, and you didn't check who you were sending it to." "I know.
I'm horrified. I'm so sorry.
It will never happen again. I'll delete your number. I'll never contact you again. Please, I'm just asking you to accept my apology and let me leave." Marco stood, and Emma's heart nearly stopped. He was tall, over 6 feet, and the way he moved was predatory. He walked around the desk, leaning against it, arms crossed, looking down at her. "You think you can just apologize and walk away? You think I called you here to accept your apology?" I hoped. Hope is a dangerous thing, Miss Hayes." He picked up his phone from the desk, scrolled, then read aloud. "Hey, handsome, still thinking about our conversation. You know what I'd like to do to you, if we met up tonight?" He looked up. "Should I continue? It gets more detailed." "Please don't," Emma whispered, wanting to disappear into the floor. "You've disrespected me. You've wasted my time. And you've demonstrated remarkably poor judgment." He set the phone down. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to work off your debt." Emma's eyes widened. "My debt? In 2 weeks, I'm hosting a charity gala. 500 guests. Politicians, businessmen, celebrities. It's the most important event of my year. My event coordinator just quit, eloped to Paris with her girlfriend. Very romantic, very inconvenient for me. You're going to replace her." "What? I'm not an event planner. You work in marketing. I've seen your company's events. You organized that corporate dinner where we met. You're capable." "Mr. Valentini, I have a full-time job. I can't just." "You'll make time. Evenings, weekends. You'll report directly to me. You'll do exactly what I say when I say it. And when the gala is over, if I'm satisfied with your work, we'll call this matter resolved. If I'm not satisfied..." He let the sentence hang in the air. "And if I refuse?" Marco smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Then that message stays on my phone. And I have friends at several media outlets who would find it very interesting. I imagine your employer would too. Sexual harassment in the workplace is taken very seriously these days, wouldn't you say? That's blackmail. That's consequence, Miss Hayes. You made a choice last night. A stupid, careless choice. Now you deal with the result." He walked back to his desk, pulled out a folder, and slid it across to her. "Everything you need to know about the gala. Guest list, venue details, timeline. You start tonight, 6 p.m. Don't be late." Emma stared at the folder, her mind racing. She couldn't believe this was happening. Why are you doing this? You could hire anyone. Professional event planners who actually know what they're doing. Consider it penance. Besides, his eyes locked on hers. "I want to see what you're made of. You seemed so confident in that text. Let's see if you can back it up in person." The challenge in his voice made her spine straighten. Despite her terror, despite the insanity of the situation, something in her refused to cower completely. "Fine," she said, standing up and grabbing the folder. "I'll plan your gala. I'll do it perfectly. And then we're done. No more contact. No more anything." "We'll see," Marco said, something almost like amusement flickering across his face. Emma turned to leave, but his voice stopped her at the door. "Miss Hayes? One more thing. When you're working for me, you'll need to be available. All hours. So I'll need a way to contact you." He held up his phone, where her contact information was still displayed. "I think I'll keep this number after all. The one you so thoughtfully provided." Her face flushed again, but she lifted her chin. "Don't text me anything inappropriate, Mr. Valentini." "I wouldn't dream of it," he said, and this time his smile was genuine. Dangerous, but genuine. "I'm a professional." The dismissal was clear. Emma left the office, her legs shaking, her mind spinning. As she walked back through the restaurant, past the suited security, into the waiting car, one thought dominated all others. What had she just agreed to? That evening, Emma returned to Rosso with her laptop and a notebook. She'd spent the afternoon reviewing the folder Marco had given her. The gala was enormous. 500 guests. $15,000 plate dinner. Live orchestra. Silent auction with items worth hundreds of thousands. All proceeds going to a children's hospital. The scope was terrifying. Marco was waiting in his office, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, looking at spreadsheets on his computer. He glanced up when she entered. Punctual.
Good. Seat.
We have work to do. For the next 3 hours, they went through every detail. The catering menu, the floral arrangements, the seating chart, which Marco said was more complicated than a military operation. Certain people couldn't sit near other people. Some guests required specific accommodations. Politicians needed to be strategically placed for photo opportunities. This is insane, Emma muttered, making notes. You're basically orchestrating a night of controlled chaos. Welcome to my world, Miss Hayes. As they worked, Emma noticed things about Marco she hadn't seen before. The way he rubbed his temples when he was concentrating. How he took his coffee black with no sugar. The slight Italian accent that emerged on certain words. And despite everything, despite her fear and resentment, she found herself drawn into the work. Into his world. The silent auction, Marco said, sliding another document toward her. We have 20 items so far. I need at least 30. High-value items. Vacation packages, jewelry, exclusive experiences. You'll need to reach out to our donors and secure more items by end of week. End of week? That's 3 days. You can do it. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact. Emma looked at him, this dangerous man who'd turned her life upside down over a text message, and felt something shift. Fine. He wanted to see what she was made of? She'd show him. I'll get you 40 items, she said. Marco's eyebrow lifted. Confident. You want confidence? I'll give you confidence. But I need access to your donor list, your vendor contacts, and authorization to make calls on behalf of Valentini Enterprises.
Done.
My assistant will set you up tomorrow.
He closed his laptop.
It's late. My driver will take you home. I can take a cab. My driver will take you home, he repeated, in a tone that brokered no argument. You're working for me now. While you're under my employment, your safety is my concern. The neighborhood you live in isn't safe at this hour. Emma wanted to argue, but she was exhausted.
Fine.
Thank you. As she gathered her things, Marco spoke again. Miss Hayes.
Emma.
It was the first time he'd used her first name. You did well tonight. Better than I expected. The compliment surprised her. Don't sound so shocked, Mr. Valentini. I told you I could handle it. Call me Marco. If we're going to be working closely together, the formality is unnecessary. Then you should call me Emma. I already did, he said, a hint of amusement in his voice. Good night, Emma. Good night, Marco. The next few days were a blur. Emma somehow managed to balance her regular job with Marco's impossible demands. She made calls during her lunch breaks, sent emails at midnight, reviewed contracts at dawn. And slowly and possibly things came together. She secured 35 items for the silent auction. She negotiated better rates with the florist. She solved the seating chart puzzle by creating a digital mock-up that even Marco admitted was brilliant. Every evening, she reported to his office. They'd work for hours, sometimes not finishing until past midnight. And somewhere in those late nights, something changed. They started talking about things beyond the gala. She learned he'd grown up in Sicily, came to America at 15. That he'd built his empire from nothing. That the charity was personal, dedicated to his younger sister, who died of leukemia when she was 8. The hospital we're raising money for, he said one night, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it. They tried to save her. They did everything they could. This gala, it's my way of making sure other families have better chances than we did. Emma felt her heart crack open a little. This dangerous, intimidating man who'd blackmailed her into servitude had a wound he carried. A reason behind the ruthlessness. I'm sorry about your sister, she said quietly. It was a long time ago. But his jaw tightened, and she knew it wasn't. Grief didn't follow timelines. On the 5th night, Marco's right-hand man, a granite-faced man named Vincent, interrupted their meeting. He whispered something to Marco, whose expression darkened. Excuse me, Marco said, standing abruptly. Vincent will see you out. Is everything okay? Business. Nothing for you to worry about. But his tone was clipped, tense. Vincent escorted her downstairs, but as they reached the main floor, Emma heard raised voices from the back of the restaurant. Marco's voice, sharp and angry. Another man's voice, equally aggressive. Keep walking, Miss Hayes, Vincent said, his hand on her elbow. But Emma caught a glimpse through a partially open door. Marco facing off against another man in an expensive suit. The tension between them was palpable, violent. Who is that? She asked Vincent once they were in the car. Vincent's jaw tightened. No one you need to know about. But Emma's journalist instincts, honed from years of researching for marketing campaigns, kicked in. When she got home, she started digging. The man she'd seen was Carlo Russo, a name that appeared in connection with Marco's in several old news articles. Articles about territory disputes, about rival families, about a world Emma had convinced herself was just rumor and speculation. It wasn't. The next evening, she arrived at Marco's office to find him pacing, tension radiating from every line of his body. His knuckles were bruised. What happened to your hand? She asked. I hit something. Are we here to plan a gala or discuss my personal life?
Marco.
Don't. His voice was sharp. Whatever you think you know, whatever you think you saw last night, forget it.
You're here to do a job.
That's all. Emma set down her bag.
I saw that man.
I looked him up.
Carlo Russo.
Your competition. Or is rival family a more accurate term? Marco's eyes flashed dangerously. You need to stop asking questions.
Why?
Because the truth might scare me away? I'm already here. I'm already involved. And I'm not stupid, Marco. I know what you are. The words hung in the air between them. Marco moved closer, his presence overwhelming in the small space. You don't know anything about what I am. Then tell me. Tell me why Carlo Russo looked at you like he wanted you dead. Tell me why Vincent carries a gun. Tell me why people are afraid to even say your name. Because it keeps them safe. Marco's voice rose. Then he controlled himself, running a hand through his hair. Fear keeps people in line. Fear prevents chaos. You want the truth, Emma? Fine. Yes, I have business interests that exist in gray areas. Yes, I have enemies. Yes, I've done things that would horrify your comfortable, law-abiding sensibilities. But everything I do to protect what's mine. My territory, my people, my family's legacy. And what am I? Emma asked, her voice quieter now. Am I just some punishment for a text message? Some game to you? Marco stared at her, something shifting in his expression. You were supposed to be, but you're not. Not anymore. The admission hung between them, charged with meaning. Emma's breath caught. Then what am I? A problem, Marco said, but his voice had gone soft. A beautiful, stubborn, infuriating problem. Because Carlo Russo? He doesn't just want my territory. He wants to hurt me. And the best way to hurt me is to find the things I care about. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you work yourself exhausted trying to prove yourself. I know you take your coffee with 2 sugars and never remember to eat dinner. I know you chew your pen when you're thinking and that you always kick off your heels under my desk because your feet hurt. I know that when you smile, really smile, it lights up the whole damn room. And I know that if Carlo Russo realizes any of that, you become a target. Emma's heart was pounding. So what do? You finish the gala. And then you walk away. You go back to your normal life, your safe life, and you forget about me. And if I don't want to forget? Marco closed his eyes briefly.
Emma.
Don't. But she was moving toward him now, drawn by something she couldn't name. Don't what? Don't admit that I think about you constantly? Don't acknowledge that these past 2 weeks have been the most alive I've felt in years? Don't say that when I'm with you, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be? You're supposed to be somewhere safe. Somewhere far away from men like me. Maybe I'm tired of safe. Emma was close enough now to see the conflict in his eyes. Maybe that text message wasn't such a mistake after all. Emma. Her name was a warning and a prayer.
Marco.
She reached up, touching his bruised knuckles gently. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. But I'm not. For a long moment, they stood there, the air thick with tension and want and danger. Then Marco's control snapped. He pulled her to him, one hand tangling in her hair, the other at her waist, and kissed her like she was oxygen, and he was drowning. Emma melted into him, every nerve ending alive, every doubt evaporating. This was wrong. This was dangerous. This was absolutely insane. This was perfect. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Marco rested his forehead against hers. This is a terrible idea. The worst, Emma agreed. You should leave. I'm not going anywhere. Stubborn woman. You have no idea. Marco laughed, the sound surprised and genuine. Actually, I'm beginning to. But his expression sobered quickly. Emma, I'm serious. Being with me, being seen with me, it puts you at risk. Russo has been looking for leverage against me for months. If he finds out about you, then we'll be careful. We'll keep this private until after the gala. After that, we'll figure it out together. Together, Marco repeated, like the word was foreign. I don't do together. Well, maybe it's time you learned. Emma stepped back, straightening her clothes, trying to regain some composure. Now, we have a gala to finish planning. 3 days left. Let's focus on that, and we can deal with everything else after. Marco watched her, something like wonder in his expression. How are you real? I asked myself the same question about this entire situation. Now, seating chart. We still need to finalize the head table. They worked until 2 in the morning, and if their hands touched more than necessary, if their glances lingered longer than professional, neither of them mentioned it. But when Marco's driver dropped Emma off, he kissed her again at her door, slower this time, sweeter. Be careful, he whispered against her lips. Always am, she lied. The next 2 days were a whirlwind of final preparations. Emma took time off work, claiming a family emergency. She coordinated with vendors, confirmed RSVPs, triple-checked every detail. The gala was going to be perfect. It had to be. On the morning of the event, Emma was at the venue at 6 a.m., overseeing setup. The ballroom was being transformed into something magical. Crystal chandeliers, white roses and gold accents, tables that looked like they belonged in a palace. Marco arrived at noon, surveying everything with a critical eye. Emma held her breath, waiting for his verdict. It's perfect, he said finally, and the relief that flooded through her was palpable. You did this, Emma. All of this. We did this, she corrected. He pulled her aside, away from the bustling crew. Tonight, after the gala, we need to talk. Really talk. About what this is. About what happens next. I'd like that. And, Emma? You look beautiful today. I can't wait to see you tonight. She blushed. You'll be too busy networking and schmoozing to notice me. I will always notice you. That evening, Emma stood in front of her mirror in a floor-length emerald gown she'd splurged on for the occasion. Her dark hair was swept up, her makeup subtle but elegant. She looked like someone who belonged in Marco's world. She arrived at the venue an hour before guests, doing final checks. Everything was flawless. The orchestra was warming up. The catering staff was ready. The auction items were displayed perfectly. She'd actually done it. Marco appeared in a tuxedo that made her heart skip. He looked devastating, powerful, and when his eyes found her across the room, the heat in them could have melted steel. Emma, he said, crossing to her. You're stunning. You clean up pretty well yourself. He took her hand, lifting it to his lips. Thank you. For all of this. I know I strong-armed you into it, but you've exceeded every expectation. Well, I aim to impress my blackmailers. He laughed. Former blackmailer. As of tonight, you're free. No more debt. No more obligation. And if I want to stick around anyway, then that's your choice to make. But I want you to choose freely, Emma. Not because you have to, but because you want to. I choose you, she said simply. Marco's expression softened. We'll talk after. I promise. But right now, I have 500 guests about to arrive and a reputation to maintain. Stay close tonight. I want you where I can see you. The gala was a massive success. Guests arrived in designer gowns and tuxedos. Politicians shook hands. Celebrities posed for photos. The auction was raising ridiculous amounts of money. Emma coordinated everything from the sidelines, making sure each course came out perfectly, that the speeches happened on schedule, that not a single detail went wrong. Marco worked the room like he was born to it. Charming, confident, in complete control. But every so often, his eyes would find hers across the crowd, and that secret smile would appear. Just for her. Around 10 p.m., Emma was near the auction tables when she felt someone watching her. She turned to find a man in an expensive suit, salt and pepper hair, cold eyes that reminded her of a shark. You must be the event coordinator, he said smoothly. Marco's new assistant.
I'm Carlo Russo.
Emma's blood ran cold, but she kept her expression neutral. Mr. Russo, are you enjoying the evening? Very much. Though I must say, I'm surprised. Marco usually hires professionals for events this scale. You seem a bit green. How did you end up working for him? There was something predatory in the question. Emma chose her words carefully. Mr. Valentini offered me an opportunity. I took it. An opportunity. How fortunate. Carlo stepped closer, invading her space. Tell me, Miss Hayes. Miss Hayes. How well do you know Marco? Personally, I mean. I'm his event coordinator, Mr. Russo. That's all. Of course. That's all. But his smile suggested he didn't believe her. Well, you've done lovely work tonight. I'm sure Marco is very appreciative. Before Emma could respond, a hand settled on her lower back. Marco's voice was cold enough to freeze fire.
Carlo.
I see you've met Emma. Just complimenting her excellent work, Carlo said smoothly. You've found yourself quite a gem here, Marco. I hope you're taking good care of her. The threat in his words was barely veiled. Marco's hand tightened on Emma's back. Emma is under my protection. I hope that's clear. Crystal, Carlo said, but his eyes gleamed with interest. Enjoy your evening, Miss Hayes. I'm sure we'll be seeing each other again. He walked away, and Emma felt Marco's tension radiating through his touch. We need to go.
Now.
What? Marco, the gala isn't over. Vincent can handle the rest. We're leaving. His voice brooked no argument. He guided her through a back exit, past security, into a waiting car. As soon as the door closed, Marco turned to her, his expression furious and terrified. He knows. Damn it, he knows. Knows what?
About you.
About us. The way he looked at you, the questions he asked. He's figured out that you matter to me. Emma's heart was racing. What does that mean? It means you're in danger. It means I was an idiot to let you anywhere near my world. It means, he stopped, running his hands through his hair. It means I need to get you somewhere safe. Somewhere he can't reach you. Marco, you're scaring me.
Good.
You should be scared. Carlo Russo doesn't make idle threats. If he thinks he can use you to get to me, he will. And I can't, his voice cracked. I can't let anything happen to you. The car pulled up to Marco's restaurant. He led her inside, through the empty dining room, upstairs to a private apartment she hadn't known existed. Luxury surrounded them, but Emma barely noticed. How bad is this? She asked. Bad. Carlo's been trying to muscle into my territory for years. He's ruthless, he's smart, and he has no conscience. If he takes you, Marco couldn't finish the sentence. Then we stop him. Together.
No. You don't understand.
This isn't some romantic adventure, Emma. This is real. People die in my world.
Good people.
Innocent people. And I will not let you become another casualty.
So, what are you saying?
That we're over before we even really started. I'm saying I'm sending you away. Tonight. Vincent is arranging a safe house upstate. You'll stay there until this is resolved. And how long will that take? However long it takes. Emma felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. So that's it? You make this decision for me? Without even asking what I want. What you want doesn't matter if you're dead. Marco's voice rose, his control shattering. Don't you get it? I'm falling for you, Emma. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you. And that makes you the most dangerous liability I've ever had. Carlo will use that.
He'll hurt you to hurt me.
And I would rather lose you, rather never see you again, than have your blood on my hands. The confession hung in the air between them. Emma's breath caught. You love me? God help me, yes. Then fight for me. Fight for us. Don't send me away like I'm some problem to be solved. I'm a person, Marco. And I get a say in this. Emma?
No.
Listen to me. That text message, the one that started all this? Maybe it was fate. Maybe the universe was telling us something. You said I was supposed to walk away after the gala, go back to my safe, boring life. But I don't want safe anymore. I want you. All of you. The good, the bad, the dangerous. So stop trying to protect me by pushing me away and start trusting me to make my own choices. Marco stared at her, conflict written across every feature. Then he crossed the room in 3 strides and kissed her desperately, like She was the only thing keeping him anchored to earth. When they broke apart, his voice was rough. If we do this, really do this, you need to understand what you're signing up for. My life isn't normal. There will always be threats. Always be danger.
Can you live with that?
Can you live with losing me because you are too afraid to try? No, he admitted. I can't. Then we figure this out. Together. Marco pulled her close, his chin resting on top of her head. We need a plan. Carlo knows about you now, which means we can't pretend you're nothing to me. But we can use that. Use it how? He thinks you're my weakness. What if we make you my strength instead? Over the next hour, they strategized. Emma would go to the safe house, but not to hide. She'd be bait. Carlo would make a move, thinking Marco was vulnerable. But Marco would be ready, with Vincent and his entire security team. They'd end this, once and for all.
It's risky, Marco said.
Everything worth having is risky. You're sure about this? Emma kissed him softly. I've never been more sure of anything. The safe house was a cabin in the mountains, beautiful and isolated. Vincent drove her there the next morning, along with 2 other guards. Marco stayed behind to set the trap. For 3 days, nothing happened. Emma stayed inside, reading, waiting, trying not to go crazy with worry. Marco called every few hours, his voice tense, but controlled. Any movement? She'd ask. Carlo's people have been watching the restaurant. They know you're gone. It's only a matter of time. On the 4th night, Emma woke to the sound of breaking glass. She bolted upright, heart hammering.
Through her window, she saw headlights.
Multiple cars. Vincent burst into her room. We need to move.
Now.
They ran through the cabin out a back door into the woods. Emma could hear shouting behind them, footsteps crashing through underbrush. Vincent pulled her faster, his gun drawn. The car is just ahead. We get there, we're safe. But they never made it. Men surrounded them, at least 6, all armed. Vincent stepped in front of Emma, weapon raised. Back off. You don't want to do this. Actually, came Carlo Russo's voice from the darkness. I very much do. He stepped into view, impeccable even in the woods, a gun in his hand. Miss Hayes. We meet again. Though under less pleasant circumstances. Let her go, Russo, Vincent growled. I don't think so. You see, she's my guest now. Marco took something of mine a few years back. Now I'm taking something of his. Fair trade, wouldn't you say? Emma's mind raced. The plan had been for Marco to ambush Carlo's men at the restaurant. But Carlo had outsmarted them, coming for her directly. Marco will kill you for this, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Oh, I'm counting on him trying. That's when I'll kill him. See how neat that works out. Carlo gestured to his men.
Take her.
Kill the bodyguard.
No.
Emma screamed as gunfire erupted. But it wasn't Carlo's men shooting. It was coming from the trees. Marco's team, dozens of them, surrounding Carlo's position. And then Marco himself appeared, fury incarnate, gun trained directly on Carlo's head. Step away from her.
Now.
Carlo's smile didn't waver.
Predictable, Marco.
Did you really think I wouldn't anticipate your counter-ambush? My men have this entire area surrounded. You make a move, everyone dies. Including your precious Emma. Stand off. 24 guns pointed in every direction. One wrong move, and it would be a bloodbath. Emma's mind flashed back to something Marco had said once. Fear keeps people in line. Fear prevents chaos. She made a choice. Stop. Her voice rang out clear and strong. Everyone just stop. She stepped forward, away from Vincent, walking directly toward Carlo. Marco's voice was desperate. Emma, don't. But she ignored him, stopping just feet from Carlo Russo. You want to know what's funny about all this? That text message that started everything? It was actually meant for a different Marco. A nobody. A guy from a dating app. One stupid mistake, and now we're all standing here with guns pointed at each other. Carlo's expression flickered with interest. Your point? My point is that mistakes have consequences. But they also create opportunities. You want to hurt Marco by taking me. He wants to protect me by eliminating you. But what if there's a third option? What if everyone walks away tonight? You're naive if you think. I'm not naive.
I'm strategic.
You're a businessman, Mr. Russo. So, let's talk business. The charity gala raised $2.3 million for that children's hospital. The publicity was enormous. Politicians, celebrities, media coverage. Marco's reputation as a legitimate philanthropist grew significantly, which makes him harder to target, harder to discredit, harder to destroy through traditional means. She had Carlo's full attention now. Even Marco was listening, though his gun never wavered. What if instead of fighting over territory, you both expanded? Different territories. Different cities. You take Atlantic City. Marco stays here.
No overlap.
No conflict. And both of you come out looking like civic heroes instead of criminals. You think it's that simple? Carlo asked. Nothing simple. But it's smarter than mutual destruction. You kill me, Marco kills you. Your organizations go to war.
People die.
Businesses suffer. Law enforcement gets involved. Nobody wins. Or you make a deal. You both win. You both live. The silence stretched impossibly long. Emma could feel Marco's tension, could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. This was insane. She was negotiating with a mafia boss in the middle of the woods at gunpoint. Carlo studied her for a long moment. Then, impossibly, he laughed. You have nerve, Miss Hayes. I'll give you that. He looked at Marco. Your woman has more balls than most of my men. Tell me, Marco. Is she worth Atlantic City? She's worth everything, Marco said without hesitation. Another long pause. Then Carlo lowered his gun.
Fine.
Atlantic City. But I want it in writing. A formal agreement. Territory lines. Revenue sharing on any joint ventures. And if you cross those lines, Valentini, this truce ends. Marco slowly lowered his weapon. Agreed. But harm one hair on her head, now or ever, and no agreement will save you. Fair. Carlo looked at Emma again. You should consider a career change, Miss Hayes. You'd make an excellent negotiator. I'll stick with event planning, thanks. Carlo signaled his men to stand down. We'll meet next week. Neutral ground. Lawyers present. Until then, Valentini, congratulations. You've won this round. He paused. Because of her. Remember that. He disappeared into the darkness with his men, leaving an eerie silence. The moment they were gone, Marco was there, pulling Emma into his arms so tightly she could barely breathe. Are you insane? You walked directly toward a man holding a gun. I walked toward a solution, Emma corrected, though she was shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. And it worked. We're all alive. The war is over. Emma. Marco pulled back to look at her, his hands cupping her face. You terrified me. You brilliant, reckless, incredible woman. You terrified me.
Good.
Now you know how I felt when you tried to send me away. He kissed her then, desperate and relieved and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, Vincent was clearing his throat awkwardly. Boss, we should move. Just in case Russo changes his mind. They drove back to the city in silence, Emma tucked against Marco's side, his arm wrapped protectively around her. The sun was rising by the time they reached his apartment, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Inside, Emma finally collapsed on his couch, the weight of everything hitting her. Did that really just happen? Did I really negotiate a peace treaty with the mafia? Marco poured them both whiskey, sat beside her. You did. You saved lives tonight, Emma. Including mine. So what happens now?
Now.
Marco took her hand. Now we figure out what this is. What we are. Because after tonight, there's no going back. You're in my world completely. And I need to know if that's really what you want. Emma looked at this man who'd entered her life because of a mistaken text message. This dangerous, complicated, surprisingly tender man who'd blackmailed her into planning a gala and somehow stolen her heart in the process. Remember what you said? That text was supposed to go to some nobody from a dating app. But it didn't. It went to you. And maybe that wasn't a mistake at all. Maybe that was exactly what was supposed to happen. You believe in fate? I believe in us. I believe that sometimes the universe pushes us toward exactly where we need to be, even if it seems crazy at the time. Even if it scares us. Marco set down his glass, turned to face her fully. I love you, Emma Hayes. I love your courage, your stubbornness, your brilliant mind. I love how you challenge me, how you see past the reputation to the man underneath. I love that you walked toward danger to save lives instead of running from it. And I love that out of all the mistakes you could have made, you made one that brought you to me. Emma felt tears streaming down her face, happy ones this time. I love you too, Marco Valentini.
Even though you blackmailed me.
Even though you're bossy and overprotective and live in a world I don't fully understand. I love you anyway. Maybe because of those things, not despite them. So, where does that leave us?
Together.
Figuring it out as we go. Making more mistakes, probably. But making them together. Marco kissed her softly. Together. I like the sound of that. They stayed on that couch as dawn broke fully over the city, talking about everything and nothing. About Emma's job and whether she'd keep it. About Marco's businesses, the legitimate ones and the complicated ones. About boundaries and expectations and the future they'd build. I want you to meet my mother, Marco said eventually. She still lives in Sicily. Visits twice a year. She'll love you. Even knowing how we met. Especially knowing how we met. She's always said I needed someone who wouldn't take my nonsense. You definitely qualify. Emma laughed, the sound light and free. What about my parents? They're going to freak out when they meet you. I can be charming when I want to be. You'll have to be very charming. My dad's a retired police officer.
Marco Valentini.
Of course he is. We'll figure it out, Emma reassured him. We figured out Carlo Russo. We can figure out my dad. One terrifying situation at a time, please. Later that week, Emma officially became a consultant for Valentini Enterprises. Legitimate work, legitimate pay, helping manage his public image and charitable initiatives. She kept her marketing job too, at least for now, wanting to maintain some independence. The agreement with Carlo Russo was signed in a lawyer's office, both men civil, if not friendly. Atlantic City became Russo territory. Marco focused on expanding his legitimate businesses. The peace held. 6 months later, Emma moved into Marco's penthouse. A year after that, he proposed on the anniversary of that fateful text message, getting down on one knee in the restaurant where it all began. Emma Hayes, he said, ring box open, you walked into my life by accident and changed everything. You saw past the fear to the man underneath. You negotiated peace when I would have chosen war. You chose me when you could have chosen safety. Will you marry me? Emma pulled him to his feet, kissing him before answering.
Yes.
1,000 times yes. At their wedding, Jessica gave a toast that had everyone laughing. To Emma, who accidentally texted a mafia boss and somehow turned it into the greatest love story I've ever heard. And to Marco, who proved that even the scariest men can be brought to their knees by the right woman. May your life together be slightly less dramatic than how it started. Marco raised his glass. I'll drink to that. Though knowing us, probably not. Emma squeezed his hand under the table. Definitely not. And she was right. Their life together was never boring. There were challenges, complications, the occasional threat from rivals who didn't respect the new order. But through it all, they had each other. The woman who'd sent the wrong text. The man who'd turned a mistake into destiny. Sometimes, Emma would look back at that night, at the panic she'd felt seeing Marco's name on her phone, at the terror of walking into his office, at the moment everything changed. And she'd smile, because that wrong number had been so perfectly, wonderfully right. If you love this story of danger, romance, and second chances, make sure you hit that like button and drop a comment below telling us your favorite moment. Was it the confrontation in the woods? The first kiss? The proposal? Let us know. And don't forget to subscribe for more dramatic love stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.